Okay, so it's been a while since I've uploaded anything at all. I actually have a bunch of stuff recorded, but I can't upload them at the moment because they're in a hard disk that isn't currently with me. So I'm gonna stick with this. Today I want to talk about growing up. In terms of growing up, there's a lot of things can signify growing up. It can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, and sooner or later it's gonna be all three. So I'm gonna start with, I guess, mental in a way. If not mental, then I guess it's emotional. I don't know how to categorize it. It's the idea of death, the way death is introduced to a person. Now, from my personal experience, normally I end this shit with advice, but like this is more of food for thought. And like, oh, in hindsight, this could have been like this. Okay, this is more what this video is. Oh yeah, I just finished building this tower. It looks really bad. I'm planning to fix it up sooner or later. But yeah, in terms of death, when you're introduced to death first, like it can be a lot of things. Like some are unluckier than others in the sense that maybe their parent dies while they're at a young age, or they end up having a pet that dies at a young age. It's really hard to find that sweet spot of like the appropriate time for a person to be introduced to the idea of death. Because the concept of it should be introduced early on, definitely. It breeds conservative kids, kids that know how to be cautious, who grow up into thinking adults. But then the later you are introduced to death, the I guess it spoils the fun to a degree or something like that. It's like, oh, people can die and they won't come back. Now, I'm not saying the idea of like there's nothing on the other side, because like that triggers all the religious people. But you can admit that they don't come back. They really don't. I'm sorry, but they don't come back. Nothing's gonna change that. Sure, there are those people who are on the edge of death, but yeah. So, from my personal experience, I guess the first time I was ever introduced to the concept of death was through video games. I'm not. I believe it was Half Life that I first witnessed death. My dad pulled out a gun, pointed it at a humanoid figure that had a humanoid face. Okay, then I guess it wasn't Half Life. It was one of those older games. Pointed at a humanoid figure, had a human face, acted like a human, spoke like a human. My dad, with a click of his left mouse, pulled the trigger. Blood came out, and that person stopped moving. And this was a game, okay? This was a video game. So I was introduced to the idea of death through video games. And at the time, I was thinking, you know what, this is, wow, okay, so this guy can't do anything anymore. He can't harm me. He can't do anything against me anymore. So that's a good thing, okay? So that was a very big misinterpretation. Now, I practiced this for a bit. Like my dad, like just up and left because he was being called by someone. So I got on the computer and tried it myself. I was 4 years old at the time. I was either 4 or 3.5, one or the other. I was damn young, and now my memory is foggy, but I would say I was good at it. I was good at killing at that age. I knew how. I knew, I'm gonna shoot this guy, then I'm gonna shoot this guy next because he's further away and he can't shoot me because I see that I struggle shooting things at long range, so maybe they do too. Yeah, yeah, smart kid or some shit like that. It was only really when I started to see death as a bad thing, when I myself started to die in said game. I realized, now that I'm dead, I can't do anything. So that sucks. I really hope my parents don't die or else they can't do anything. So further on along the line, I asked Dad, what happens if a person dies? He said, oh yeah, if they're good in their life, they go to heaven. If they're bad in their life, they go to hell. And I stuck by that. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Okay, hell is where you're punished for your bad things. Heaven is where you're rewarded for all your good things. Hmm. And that stuck to me. Only ages later I realized that if I die, how long until I respawn? Now, this is the first time my dad had to answer this question, and it was he knew he was ready for it, but this was still his first time answering said question for someone as young as me. He said, "Son, you don't respawn. Once you die, you don't come back. Be it heaven or hell or somewhere in between, you're not gonna come back when you die. I guess there's some cases where you're on the edge of death, you're about to completely die, but those are those rare cases where they just stop you from dying instead of actually letting you die. Technically speaking, medically speaking, you're dead, but again, there are chances for people can bring you back. But when you're dead, you're dead. There are lots of ways to define death, and sooner or later you'll have to learn them out yourself. You'll have to learn them all yourself. Sorry. I'm tired as fuck right now. So, I was what? I was 6 years old when I. No, no, I wasn't that far actually. I think I was still 4 when I asked this, yeah. But it was 6 year old. I was 6 years old when I first witnessed a large living thing that wasn't an insect get killed. Genuinely getting killed. One day, my dad, okay, dad context, wild dogs were killing the neighbor's chickens. The neighbor thought that it was our dogs doing it. So we tied up our dogs, and the neighbor realized, oh no, yeah, since you tied up your dogs, the chickens haven't been killed, so it's fine. And like we were confused, because like we were pretty sure it wasn't our dogs. There was no blood on them. They never came from our neighbor's area. So we unleashed our dogs, and then the neighbors started, the chickens started getting killed again. And then my dad realized it's probably those wild dogs. They must come in the middle of the night or something. So one day we let them have at it. Like we let them kill the chickens. And now you'd think, oh, I must have seen one of the chickens get killed by one of the dogs. No. What actually happened was I was playing on the computer and my dad said, Arthur, go grab your pair of binoculars. I need you to spot for me. And I said, oh, that's just like the thing we do in our game when I tell my dad where the enemies are and he'll snipe them with his gun. Except I didn't realize that we'd actually be killing the dogs. So I would call it out, Dad, over there by the acacia tree. My dad would land the shot. Dad, over there by the snake nests, where the bushes rustle, and my dad would get the kill, no problem. Just a quick burst of blood, just done, ended. That thing that was moving just a minute ago, dragging a dead chicken across the ground, was now dead itself. It happened fast, and I didn't think much of it at the time. I gave it a year or two, and I started to think, damn, those dogs are gone. Because I helped those dogs get killed. I helped those dogs lose their lives. Now, we had to. There was no other way at the time because um, we had no animal control in that area. Even until now, that area is too far out of reach. You couldn't capture them. They were too fast. They were too rabid. We had no way of taking care of them properly or treating them. They had to be removed because we knew that if we went after them, we'd be harmed significantly. There were like 3 or 4 dogs, if I remember correctly. They were in a pack. They had attacked a 10-year-old around that area just a week or so before, if I remember correctly. There was practically already a bounty on their heads. But yeah, I had to experience a killing essentially. Give it about 5 more years. No, wait, no. If I was 6, this would have been 8 more years. Yeah, 8 years after my grandmother dies. Your grandfather is devastated. He can't. He genuinely could not speak to anyone for a week or so, and I realized this person's gone now. Nothing new will ever come out of this person. No one is ever gonna hear any words come out of this person's mouth. You're never gonna hear their voice again. You're never gonna hear something new out of their voice again. No matter where they went, whether they went anywhere or not, you know they're not coming back. I personally wasn't that close with my grandmother on that side of the family, but she did teach me a lot of things, and I'm grateful for that. Roughly a year or so later, give or take a few months, my grandfather dies. He did cheer up a bit more, a lot more. A couple of months after my grandmother's death, he you don't really move on from something like that, but the wounds turn to scars. They still, yeah, he died, and everyone was just as devastated as they had been months before. I was there. I forgot to mention that I was there when it happened. I was in the living room. He was in his room on life support by now, and he just stopped breathing. Essentially, well, yeah, just officially dead. No more brain function. Heartbeat stopped. Stuff like that. I don't know. Heartbeat stopped, but the dopamine was still pumping his lungs. If I remember correctly, that's how that works. Yeah, it was essentially a corpse in front of me for about 10, 20 minutes. I realized this person made a huge impact on my life. I wouldn't have been born if it weren't for this guy, for this goddamn legend. So, like everyone else, we stayed there. We mourned, others cried. I myself shed tears. I was saddened. He was a part of our family, a loved one, and I had witnessed his death. I wish I could say there's that perfect sweet spot, perfect age where you could be introduced to death, without having to grow up too damn soon. I mean, like, having seen all that other shit happen earlier in my life, I knew that all the shit my friends would talk about at school, like, oh yeah, I killed this guy, blah blah blah, and other shit like that. I realized that these guys don't know anything, and I guess this, huh, fuck, this is really hard for me to put out there. Like, you don't want this shit to be introduced to you soon, but at the same time, you don't want it to be introduced to you later. It really fucks with the head. But that's only one part of growing up. Like, you realize death is inevitable. You realize death is a part of life, but it also teaches you to appreciate life more. It teaches you to appreciate things that are temporary. You won't be able to taste this food as often as you'd want to. Maybe you could. Maybe you can't. But not to taste it. You want to cherish the time you have with the people around you, because you never know. Maybe they might suffer the same fate. They might perish. Even you yourself might die. You wanna really consider everything. It really shows that it really teaches you to seize those opportunities. because you never know what you had until you've lost it. Which is a classic saying. It's a classic line, which is true, honestly. There are a lot of things you don't realize you have that are dear to you until you don't have them anymore. Now it's about 3 a.m. right now, and I should be asleep. So let's just count this as part one of growing up, understanding death. I think next time I'll try to do something like, um, my body's changing or blah blah blah. I don't fucking know. I don't think these things. I just really wanted to get that whole death thing out of my chest. Cause like in hindsight, it was really fucked up. Yeah. Thank you. See you whenever I should go to sleep. I've got class tomorrow and everything.